And greetings, Dolphins fans. Welcome into this edition of Dolphins Today. I'm your host, Jake Riepma, and let's outline today's show. It's a little bit different of a show, so bear with me. We're going to start with the latest and greatest from Mel Kiper as it relates to his latest and most up-to-date mock draft. See who he's got the Fins taken with the number 21 overall pick. And we'll close it out with a peculiar story that we're still trying to make heads or tails of. So bear with us. We're going to break it all down for you on Dolphins Today. And if you're not already, here's my challenge to everybody tuning in to Dolphins Today. Drop a follow on Twitter, on X, whatever you want to call it, because I am in the giving spirit and I'm in the follow back spirit. So the next 20 followers on X, I'm going to follow right back. Team follow back, and let's continue the conversation on the X, on the Twitter, whatever you want to call it. I'm following you back, so make sure you follow at Jake_Riepma. There it is right on the screen for you. And let's get into it. So Mel Kiper comes out with his latest mock draft, and this is a little bit different than what we talked in our last edition of Dolphins Today about just rating the overall prospects. Now, this is the nitty-gritty mock draft, who he sees the Dolphins picking at number 21. And the latest Mel Kiper mock draft has the Dolphins taking out of Washington offensive tackle Troy Fautanu. And coming from a program that had such a tremendous season like the Washington Huskies, Fanu has a lot to offer at the next level. And then when you couple it with a position in which many believe the Dolphins are targeting, it makes a lot of sense. Kiper went on to say that he has a lot to offer, saying, quote, he allowed 2 career sacks on nearly 1,250 pass blocking snaps. That's incredible. It wouldn't shock me if a team drafted Fautanu to play tackle, but I see all-pro upside for him at guard. So, that being said, you like the idea of a versatile offensive lineman that can play on the interior at the guard position or even move out to the tackle position. As it relates to the Dolphins, they inked a long-term deal with Austin Jackson at right tackle and Teron Armstead, of course, all-pro caliber, but durability has been a question. So, not a bad idea to get a guy that can play both interior on the guard position or at the tackle position like Fautanu can. And again, third-team All-American coming out of Washington, which we all know had a tremendous season, making it all the way to the college football title game before they eventually fell to Michigan. As it relates to the Miami Dolphins and fitting him with that offensive line, which let's say how it was. It was a roller coaster ride for the Miami Dolphins offensive line this season, mostly because of the injuries. They're banged up, 12 different starting rotations on the offensive line. It felt like musical chairs throughout the entire season at the offensive line position because of the injuries. And when you couple the fact that there's some complex issues with the Dolphins offensive line as far as the off-the-field contracts with both Connor Williams and Rob Hunt, both of whom are free agents and will need to be extended, maybe Chris Greer and that front office think, hey, we can get the same kind of production from the building through the drafts on more team-friendly contracts with rookie deals. So maybe Fautanu makes a lot of sense in that sense as well. But ultimately, the Dolphins will need to be better on the offensive line as it relates to pass blocking. And there's tons of different offensive line metrics that we like to look to. Pass block win rate, just one of them. And the Dolphins were really, really bad, ranking 31st overall. So make the call, put on your general manager hat with me. Should the Dolphins draft Fautanu with the 21st overall pick? It's real simple. Type Y for yes or N for no. Let me know in the comments. Now, when you look at the Dolphins' offensive line depth chart, right now it looks good. There's some question marks, though. Like I mentioned, Connor Williams, a guy that needs a contract extension. Rob Hunt, same can be said about him. And when you couple that with how important a guy like Connor Williams is to the production of the Miami Dolphins, the splits are pretty telling. Take a look at this. 9 games, both with Connor Williams and without in this past season, including the playoffs. 7-2 with him, 4-5 without. And again, this isn't just to say Connor Williams is the most important player for the Miami Dolphins. It's just putting a premium on his production and finding ways to replace him if that's the direction the Dolphins choose to go, or in fact staying with him. You see the value there as a team. In 9 games, this is not just Connor Williams, but as a team, just 8 sacks allowed in the 9 games that Connor Williams played. Now, if other offensive lineman prospects are the direction you want to go for this Dolphins team and continuing to build that offensive line for or through the draft, here are a couple of options. We've talked about Jackson Powers Johnson, a very athletic guard or center out of Oregon. J.C. Lattman, a tackle from Alabama, a guy that probably will go before 21. He's mocked in kind of the teen area, and so not necessarily sure if he'd be available at 21st. However, Oregon State's Talise Fuaga, offensive tackle that's climbing up draft boards, and he didn't necessarily have the best season for Oregon State, but a lot of the scouts at the next level like what he could potentially bring to somebody that drafts him kind of in that range, in the 20s. And then Jordan Morgan from Arizona, another guy, more of a tackle to keep your eye on. So if you want to build the offensive line through the draft instead of offering Connor Williams and Rob Hunt big contracts, there's certainly the draft prospects to do so that might fit in that 21st overall position for the Miami Dolphins. And for me, I really like Jackson Powers Johnson or Troy Fautanu, like we've talked about today. Both those guys, I think, represent versatile offensive linemen. You can move them inside. With Fautanu, it's a guy that can play guard or tackle. With Jackson Powers Johnson, it's a guy that can play center or guard. And I just love the idea of a versatile prospect because exactly what we saw in 2023. Injuries happen. Guys have to be able to step in and fill different positions so that there's still that consistent play on the offensive line for the Miami Dolphins in 2024. But I've given you my take. I want to hear from you. You know that this is a program that absolutely insists on getting the pulse of each and every person watching. So let me know down in the comments, who do you want the Dolphins to draft with that first overall pick? Feels good to talk about a Dolphins number or first round pick considering it's been 2 years since they've had one. Let me know down in the comments. Now, we're going to turn the page here coming up and talk about some off-the-field news that just hit the airwaves. And before we do that, I want to give a huge shout-out to today's presenting sponsor. You know them as America's #1 meal delivery service, and that is Factor. And in 2024, Factor is making it easier than ever to make wise decisions that lead to success, starting with your diet. And if you want fresh, never frozen, dietitian-approved meals delivered straight to your door, then listen up. And let me tell you, they are delicious. And oh yeah, don't forget about the over 50 weekly add-ons, everything from breakfast snacks to smoothies. In fact, a number of us have the smoothies in the office. We always are talking about the favorite flavors. I go with the mango one, if you will. Also, love the Chipotle pork chop. That's to die for. Anyways, what I love about Factor overall, though, is the convenience. I'm telling you, say goodbye to grocery shopping. I hate grocery shopping. I don't do it anymore because of Factor. Say hello to convenience through the lens of Factor, making choices that lead to success in 2024. Factormeals.com/FinsChat50 is where you have to go because right there we've got 50% off your first order at Factormeals.com/FinsChat50 for 50% off. Don't just take my word for it. Go to Factormeals.com/FinsChat50 for your 50% off. And oh yeah, we love you and we care about you. So we're putting that link right in the comments and the description of today's video. It's Factor Meals, Factormeals.com/FinsChat50 for 50% off. All right, if you're with me, I want you to buckle up. You know, usually I tell you to buckle up right at the beginning, but just wanted to make sure you were paying attention. The news have hit the airwaves, and there's conflicting sides here, or there's two different sides, I should say. So we're here to present what's going on, the latest around the Miami Dolphins, and this certainly fits the category. Earlier today, the Sun Sentinel tweeted out, Miami Dolphins Tyreek Hill, obviously the star receiver, files petition for divorce in Broward County. Now, this is especially puzzling when you consider Tyreek Hill married to Keeta Vaccaro. In fact, she was kind of a star on one of the episodes of Hard Knocks where you got an in-depth look at their relationship. They got married just less than 2 months ago on the bye week for the Miami Dolphins. And again, I know Hard Knocks isn't reality, but it certainly painted the picture that this was a loving couple. You see Tyreek Hill give her the touchdown ball in the AFC wildcard game, married during the Dolphins bye week. for approximately 2 months. Now, go back to January 3rd. That's when a house fire destroyed a significant portion of the family mansion while Tyreek was at the Dolphins practice facility. And so certainly some strife amongst the family and some difficult circumstances to deal with. And then fast forward to recently, yesterday, where Tyreek Hill reportedly files for divorce on January 22nd. Now, that's one side of the story. Here's the other side of the story. And again, this is what's kind of puzzling in that Tyreek Hill tweeted out, boy, no the heck we didn't. So don't put that in the air. We are happily married and gonna stay that way. Which again, that makes sense based on everything we've seen. However, this is a very, very interesting document that is available on the internet. Public court records would certainly point to the fact that the Tyreek Hill filing for divorce is accurate, and that report was accurate, because if you look at the bottom portion of the screen, that's where you see Tyreek Hill and Keeta Vaccaro filing for divorce. And these, again, are public records from the clerk of the Broward County Court. So here we are left with two different sides to the story. Report out that Tyreek Hill has filed for divorce from his wife, Keeta Vaccaro. A tweet in response from Tyreek Hill saying it's completely false and denying that. And then the screenshot of the, once again, public court record. So a little bit of he said, a little bit of she said, this, that, and the other. A lot of speculation. All we can do is present the two sides that are out there. And again, I mentioned at the opening of the show, this isn't necessarily something we always talk about, but it's news, and it certainly has you scratching your head, wondering what to make of it, heads or tails, and what's true. I do think this isn't going to be the first or the last of what we see from this story. So I ask you in the comments, let me know your one-word reaction to this news, because when I first initially saw it, I thought that's sad and very surprising, and then I saw Tyreek Hill deny the claim from the Sun Sentinel, and that's what we're left for right now. So let me know down in the comments what you think about it. Of course, we certainly wish Tyreek Hill all the best in his personal life and everything that's going on, and certainly the difficulties with the house fire on January 3rd, a lot to process, and he's likely going through a lot, so we're here to wish him the best. Now, also mentioned earlier in the program that I'm in the giving mood. I'm ready and willing and able to follow back the next 20 people on Twitter. So if you haven't yet, drop a follow on Twitter. We're tweeting about the Dolphins all season long, all off season long, bringing you the latest on the draft talk, free agency, live shows like we always got, and it all takes place on Dolphins Today, and that Twitter is one more extension for us to stay in touch, stay connected, and communicate, and talk all things Miami Dolphins, which is what it all is all about. So drop a follow. I'll shout out some new followers throughout the week as well as we continue to keep in touch here. And once again, a huge shout out to today's producer, Jack Lauderay, on the ones and twos, helping us bring you the latest and greatest surrounding the aqua and orange. And we say goodbye this time, and we'll see you next time on Dolphins Today.